contribution towards Africa's peace, development, and unity. Thank you very much. I will now have the honor to invite His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Monsieur le Président de l'Union africaine,
the Chairperson,
all protocol observed. President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, thank you for your leadership in the outstanding exercise of your mandate. President João Lourenço,
President João Lourenço, I commend you and I look forward for the opportunity to work with you as a new chair of the Union.
I also want to give a very special expression of gratitude to the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki, for his 8 years of strong and permanent commitment to multilateralism and impeccable cooperation with the United Nations. Cher Moussa,
dear Moussa, working with you was a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor.
Excellencies, the partnership between the African Union and the United Nations has never been stronger. Together, we see an Africa booming with hope and possibility. You have a booming, enterprising population, including the largest number of young people in the world. The African continental free trade is poised to turbocharge the region's economy, and calls to address the legacies of colonialism and slavery are growing louder, as reflected in your team this year, and as reflected in the leadership of so many passionate voices for the liberation of Africa, such as the great Dr. Sam Nujoma of Namibia, whose life we celebrate and whose loss we mourn. The world must never forget that Africa is the victim of 2 colossal and compounded injustices. First, the profound impact of colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade. The roots stretch back centuries, and the bitter fruit continues to affect Africans and people of African descent to this day. Decolonization alone in itself was not a panacea. Political independence did not free countries from structures based on exploitation and decades of economic, social, and institutional underinvestment. It is high time for reparatory justice frameworks to be put in place. Second, Africa was under colonial domination when today's multilateral system was created, and that injustice endures. Look no further than the United Nations Security Council. There is no excuse that Africa still lacks permanent representation in the 21st century. I will keep working with the African Union and all member states to ensure the representation Africa needs and the justice you deserve, including with 2 permanent members of the Security Council. And we will keep pressing together for an international financial architecture that is no longer outdated, dysfunctional, and unfair. Correcting age-old injustices is essential to address here and now challenges. And the good news is that we have many of the solutions we need. Last year, you helped drive that effort at the United Nations with the Pact for the Future. And I thank Africa for its support that was vital to approve the pact. Our task now is to make those commitments a reality. South Africa's G20 chairmanship could not come at a better time. Let me point to 4 areas for action. First, we must push for peace, security, and alleviating appalling levels of human suffering. Sudan is being torn apart before our eyes and is now home to the world's largest displacement crisis and famine. As we near the holy months of Ramadan, it is time for an immediate cessation of hostilities. And the international community must come together to stop the flow of weapons and the bankrolling of bloodshed. In the Democratic Republic of the Congolese people have been suffering yet again from a brutal cycle of violence. And the fighting that is raging in South Kivu as a result of the continuation of the M23 offensive threatens to push the entire region over the precipice. Regional escalation must be avoided at all costs. There is no military solution. The deadlock must end, the dialogue must begin, and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the DRC must be respected. The conclusions of the recent joint EAC-SADC summit offer a way forward, with a renewed call for an immediate ceasefire and new momentum for regional efforts based on the Luanda and Nairobi processes. Now is the time for swift implementation. And you can count on the continued support of the United Nations, including MONUSCO. In the Sahel, the clear and present threat of terrorism is undermining peace, security, and sustainable development. And in Somalia, we are urging predictable funding for the African Union support and stabilization mission, and I hope that our voice will be heard by the Security Council. And as we gather here in Africa, I know all our minds are also very much on Gaza. A resumption of hostilities must be avoided at all costs. The Palestinian people have suffered too much. I welcome efforts by the parties to abide by the ceasefire agreement and urge action for a permanent ceasefire and the release of all hostages. Peace is possible in the Middle East, and that starts with tangible, irreversible, and permanent progress towards the two-state solution, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security. Excellencies, on all fronts, we stand shoulder to shoulder with the African Union to advance security, stability, human rights, and the rule of law. Excellencies, second, we must keep working together to deliver the AU 2063 agenda and the 2030 agenda for sustainable development and drive action on finance. African countries pay up to 8 times more to borrow than developed countries, and 20 are in or at risk of debt distress. The Pact for the Future supports an international financial architecture reform to reflect today's economy, ensuring fair representation and urging effective action on debt relief. And I will stand with Africa as a matter of justice and to right the historic wrongs. Excellencies, third, the climate crisis. Climate disasters are tearing across Africa, destroying lives, upending livelihoods, devastating economies, and inflaming conflict. At the same time, the renewables revolution is unstoppable, and Africa is poised to become a global clean energy powerhouse. Yet, today, Africa receives just 2% of global renewables investment. Realizing Africa's potential requires access to affordable finance, including by implementing the COP29 finance decision fully and on time, and supporting development of a roadmap to realize $1.3 trillion a year. Excellencies, Africa has contributed little to the climate crisis, yet is paying the price with record droughts, floods, and heat. Climate justice requires a massive investment in adaptation, with the international community bearing an enormous responsibility. Developed countries must double adaptation finance, and countries must significantly boost the loss and damage fund. Allow me a note. When the Loss and Damage Fund was created, the pledging conference that took place has allowed for an amount that is equivalent at the highest contract for a basketball player in the United States. It is absolutely necessary to make the Loss and Damage Fund an effective instrument to support developing countries in adaptation. And we also need justice when it comes to your abundant critical minerals. Too often, your countries are plundered, bound to the bottom of value chains as others grow rich on your resources. The work of the United Nations Panel on Critical Energy Transition Minerals is designed to help embed justice, sustainability, and human rights across the value chain. Africa's minerals must benefit Africa's people.
Excellencies, finally, we need to act on the new technologies, including artificial intelligence. Almost 2/3 of all Africans have no reliable internet. We have a historic responsibility to ensure AI benefits humanity, not just a privilege for few. The Global Digital Pact shares the ambitions of the African Digital Compact: universal connectivity, capacity building, and responsible AI governance. I will share a model on capacity building so as to assist the Global South to use AI for the common good. Together, let's ensure the excellencies. The United Nations and the African Union stand united in our determination to deliver justice for your continent, leaving no one behind. We have much to build upon, so together, let's make commitments reality. And once again, let me say something in my mother tongue and say with one voice, Viva Africa.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. We highly appreciate your leadership in strengthening the African Union-United Nations partnership. Thank you. السيدات والسادة.
Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, I'm very happy and honored to welcome today His
تفضلوا مشكورين بإلقاء كلمتكم.
of the State of Palestine. You have the floor, Excellency.
بسم الله
Excellency Mohammed Wild Al Ghazwani, President of the Republic of Mauritania and the Chairperson of the African Union, Excellency Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Mr. Abiy Ahmed, Excellency Musa Faki, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. At the outset, I wish to extend our congratulations to Excellency President João Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, for becoming the chairperson of the African Union for the year 2025. We wish him full success. We extend our thanks to His Excellency President Mohammed Wild Al Ghazwani for his chairmanship of the previous session of the African Union. I'm very happy to meet once again with you and on behalf of the Palestinian people, who have a great deal of esteem to the people and the leaders of African states. We are proud of our friendship with them. They have always provided to us a faithful support to our just struggle for freedom and independence. Heads of state and delegation, at the time when we are working with countries in the world and international organizations to consolidate the ceasefire and provide more humanitarian assistance, and at a time when the state of Palestine is fulfilling its mission in the Gaza Strip to assist the refugees and to go back to their areas and to provide the living conditions for our people, and to, as we are preparing for the reconstruction, we hear calls for deporting our people from their lands and affecting the sovereignty of other countries. These calls are meant to distract the world from the war crimes and the genocide and the destruction in Gaza, in addition to the crimes of colonization and the settlers grab land and annexation, in addition to attacks against holy shrines in the occupied territories and Jerusalem. These are carried out by the forces of occupation and the gangs of settlers. The aim is to destroy the possibility of a two-state solution for the Palestinian cause. Today, more than 2,300,000 people live in Gaza, including 1,500,000 refugees, 1,500,000 refugees who were forced to leave their country in 1948. They suffered from more than 50 massacres by the terrorist Zionist gangs. The only place they can go back to is their cities and villages from which they were expelled during the Nakba. In implementation of UN Resolution 194. which calls for the return of Palestinian refugees to the cities and the villages from which they were deported, and that they would be compensated for the harm they suffered. We reaffirm our complete rejection for all the calls aimed at deporting the Palestinian people from its land. This will keep the region in the cycle of violence instead of going to peace creation. It is an illusion for people to believe that they can have a new century agreement or to deport our people by occupying our land. In this regard, we hail the positions of the countries that rejected the calls for deporting our people from their land and stood by our side to defend their rights. We highly hail the position of the African Union and its member states in this regard. The Israeli colonial practices mean that we need to have an urgent action by the international community and the Security Council before the forces of radicalism disseminate to kill the two-state solution. Heads of state and delegation, the Palestinian cause is the cause of a people seeking freedom and independence. Our commitment to international legality and the signed agreements, including the implementation of the vision based on a two-state solution, mean that we need to end the Israeli occupation that occupies with military power the land of the state of Palestine and its Al-Quds, the eastern part of Al-Quds. There is the UN Resolution 338, also UN Resolution 242, and the Arab Peace Initiative, whose aim is to enable the people of the region to live in peace and security. All of this in implementation of the consultative opinion of the International Court of Justice, which has stipulated the illegality of occupation and that it should be ended in 12 months. This was decided by the International Court of Justice. There's also the decision by the UN General Assembly and the call for a conference that will take place in Geneva next month. I call upon the AU member states on this occasion to participate in this important conference. Heads of government and delegation, the achievement of peace and security requires from all of us to effectively participate in the global alliance to implement the two-state solution and to support the International Conference for Peace that will take place in the United Nations by the middle of next June, under the dual chairmanship of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and France. This will be an opportunity to mobilize international resources for the international recognition of the State of Palestine and to obtain our full membership in the United Nations. We have not been able to achieve this because of the vetoes of the United States. Our aim is to implement the two-state solution based on international legality. The holding of the AU summit and the theme of justice through compensation reflects your authentic commitment to justice as a universal human value. It is a commitment whose echoes are seen in your continuous support to the Palestinian people who are still suffering from the last form of colonization in the world. We are the only ones living under colonization. You lived under this colonization, but you were liberated. Finally, we reiterate our thanks to the African Union and the member states for their continued support to the struggle of the Palestinian people to cherish their freedom and independence. And we wish your summit full success and more prosperity for the African people and their free peoples. Thank you very much for your attention.
شكرا.
Thank you, Excellency President of the State of Palestine, Abu Mazen, for your statement, your participation. Mr. President confirms the continued support of the African Union to the Palestinian cause, support in full support.
We invite His Excellency Mohammed Wil Sheikh Al-Ghazwani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and Chairperson of the African Union, to deliver his opening remarks. Excellency.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة على سيدنا محمد. أصحاب الفخامة.
Excellencies, heads of state and government, Excellency Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellency Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine, Mrs. Mia Mutli, heads of government and delegation, Excellencies, Ministers, Excellencies, Ambassadors, dear guests. At the outset, I wish to extend my thanks to the government and the people of Ethiopia for the efforts made to hold this summit. We thank them for the support and the hospitality accorded to us in this beautiful city of Addis Ababa, which saw the establishment of our organization as inspired by the founding fathers, to have an Africa that is peaceful and united. I'm very happy to reiterate my thanks to my brothers, the presidents of the member states of the African Union, for the honor bestowed in me for chairing this organization throughout my mandate. I also extend my thanks to the presidents of countries and who are with us to attend this important meeting at the beginning of 2025. This year raises a number of questions. Thank you, Excellencies, heads of government. My chairmanship of the African Union has taken place at an international period that is highly sensitive. This also coincided by our adoption of the second decade plan within the framework of Agenda 2063. It represents a plan for development for member states and the regional economic communities and the various organs of the African Union. By adopting this decade plan, we can see our solid commitment to meet the aspirations of our peoples to have the Africa that we all want, in spite of the obstacles and in spite of all the challenges. And these challenges are tremendous. When I became the chairperson of the African Union, I was fully aware of the volume of the commitment and the responsibility. Today, our world is witnessing various crises. These are where we have more areas of conflict, and tensions have jeopardized relations between countries. They have also jeopardized the values on which the world system has been established since the Second World War. After a particular period of the development of international organizations and our belief in a more just world, the references went back and hopes collapsed, and now there is a revision of the international system in a way and that the contours are not clear. For a number of years, unfortunately, bloodshed continues. Many people found themselves in difficult humanitarian situations. The world has witnessed a level of violence unprecedented since the Second World War. Palestine is what Palestine is facing is a good example of this. This global situation is made more complex and complicated by the wars in Africa. These crises, global and continental, have had a negative impact on the efforts of development in our continent, where there are tremendous challenges such as poverty, unemployment, and the weakness of health systems and the weak economic structures, in addition to the impact of climate change, the dissemination of terrorism. All of this is having an impact on peace and security. It is destroying the social fabric of our communities. In my previous speech, I committed myself to work on these challenges, and I worked during my term on respecting the rules and regulations of the African Union. All of this in full harmony with the AU Commission and the regional economic communities and the regional organs. Our aim was to consolidate the efforts of peace and to reach peace on the basis of dialogue by supporting the valuable efforts made by Excellency Ngasso, President Ngasso, at the head of the African High-Level Committee on Libya. I also continued work with President Paul Kagame and President Tshisekedi to deal with the situation in Eastern DRC. In 2024, Mauritania hosted the third meeting to consolidate the peace initiative in Sudan. We also met General Al-Burhan on the 13th and the 14th of January 2025, and the aim was to end the hostilities in Sudan and to protect its peoples and territories. In spite of the efforts made by the Union and the regional economic communities and the member states, the establishment of comprehensive peace in our continent remains to be achieved. Therefore, I call for the implementation of the decisions made by the Malabo decisions in 2022. On the basis of the work of the PSC, and this can be done at 4 levels: harmonization, financial sustainability. All of this will meet the ongoing security challenges. All of this will enable us the possibility to explore more effective solutions to achieve peace and security. We need to identify the appropriate mechanisms that should enable us to settle the challenges of peace and security. In this context, we need the efforts of each one of us as part of a collective effort in order to meet these challenges. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we gave a great deal of attention to the agenda of development during our term. We endeavored to mobilize resources by organizing or participating in a number of meetings. We organized with His Excellency Samuel Ruto in the Nairobi summit to support the resource mobilization. We consolidated this with our work with President Hassan Ouattara on the occasion of the economic summit held in Abidjan. This represented a landmark in resource mobilization for our organization. The efforts of support have led to renewing the mobilization of resources. We also participated in the work of the to mobilize more resources from Korea for the benefit of development. The volume reached for Africa from $5.5 billion to $10 billion, in addition to $14 billion to finance exports for countries investing in our continent, in addition to the 4th edition of the China-Africa Summit at the level of the heads of state. China declared to devote $50 billion to boost development in our continent. In addition to the efforts made for resource mobilization, we endeavored during our participation in the 7th meeting in Italy and the BRICS meeting in Russia in October. Also in our meeting in Brazil in November 24, in addition to other events, we endeavored to solve the problem of debt by promoting development. We also called for the review of the support and we called for establishing a new charter for financing development that would be more flexible and sustainable and would lead to the mobilization of resources that are commensurate with development. We also called for a better implementation of plans by the multi-party financial organizations for the benefit of development. and to implement our international agenda. In addition to resource mobilization, in order to promote development, we endeavored to turn our resources into an effective and sustainable development that can meet the faced challenges. These challenges have been worsened by the various crises. In this context, and in line with what was indicated, we called for a more flexibility to enable people to access education. In line with the theme for last year, we had this meeting in Mauritania in collaboration with the African Union, a continental meeting on education and employment of youths. This meeting was held in Nouakchott. The aim was to integrate youth and employment, and to youth represent the majority of the people, and these youths face the dangers of violence, the radicalization, and illegal migration. I call upon the summit to adopt the Nouakchott Declaration because it calls for a sustainable education to support peace and security, and to create jobs, and to reduce unemployment and precarity. African youths need an effective educational and training system. They also, like other African citizens, need health systems that enable them to have access to good quality health care. This will enable them to deal with the arising health issues as witnessed in our continent, such as the smallpox, cholera, and the like. In this context, I would like to hail the work carried out by the Africa Disease Center in dealing with the sudden health crisis. I congratulate Dr. Jankaya for the pioneering work done in this regard. Today, I will present a detailed report on this issue. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in line with the Dhaka Declaration on food security and the following, we held two exceptional meetings to consolidate the agricultural systems. The first meeting was held in Nairobi in May 2024. It dealt with soil and the use of fertilizers. And in January 25, there was also a meeting in Kampala to develop flexible agricultural systems. A strategy and an action plan were adopted in order to promote a comprehensive agricultural development for the years starting 2026. I invite the summit to adopt the declaration and the action plan, and the same applies to the declaration of Nairobi. The aim is to promote investment and develop agricultural industries. The focus on industry requires that we need to have an energy that is sufficient and at an acceptable cost. We held in Dar es Salaam with Her Excellency Samia Suluhu, and in coordination with the African Development Bank and the World Bank, in last January, we held the African Summit on Energy, in order to promote access to electricity for millions of Africans in sub-Saharan countries. There were a number of energy pledges. In this regard, I call for extending our congratulations to the President of the African Development Bank and the President of the World Bank. for their efforts within the framework of this ambitious partnership to support development efforts in the continent. Energy plays an important role in dealing with climate challenges. These climate challenges have a major impact on our countries. There is the issue of global warming, and we need to deploy more efforts for the energy transformation. On your behalf, during the 29th session of the multi-party meeting on climate change, COP29, held in Baku in 2024, we called for the need for the international community to fulfill its commitment and to assist us in dealing with the negative impact of climate change. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the achievement of the second action plan to implement Agenda 2063 is closely related to the coordination between the AU and the regional economic communities. For this reason, in our mid-year coordinating committee in Accra, we focused on integrating our national plans in continental programs to achieve African complementarity and to make its voice heard. This common voice will enable us to have the position that should enable us to effectively participate in the development of international agenda that should focus on sensitive African issues. Therefore, in all these events, we defended the rights of the African continent in its representation in the Security Council. We also called for a review of the international rules of governance. Our efforts were positively met, and there were clear commitments to work on them in the various meetings. But the effectiveness of the follow-up and the joint African work mean that we need to continue the structural transformation of our continent. You all know the questions raised by the structural transformation, such as the principle of alternation and how this is implemented, in addition to the distribution of positions. Because of the sensitiveness of this issue, we held an extraordinary meeting of the Executive Council, during which there was a decision to see how we can apply the principle of alternation to have a just alternation between the regions. In line with this reformist spirit, we worked on the review of the skills within the African Union. An extraordinary meeting of the Executive Council was held in November 2024 to make a decision on the best ways to carry out this operation. Following extensive consultation, the Council identified solutions to this issue. It established a clear roadmap to continue this process. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in my initial speech, I emphasized the need to overcome the challenges, and I indicated that this could only be done by joint efforts on the basis of our common destiny in order to achieve our noble objectives. Today, I reiterate the same issue as I hand over the chairmanship to His Excellency President João Lourenço, wishing him full success in the mission he is entrusted with. I express my readiness to continue with supporting him. I should seize this opportunity to extend my thanks to Moussa Faki Mohammed, the chairperson of the African Union Commission. I hail his leadership skills. I thank him for his valuable support during my term. I extend my thanks to the members of the African Union Commission and the various organs of the organization. I'm very proud for being able to serve my African continent and to be its voice in international meetings. I end my term fully convinced of the capacity of our continent to achieve the objectives of Agenda 2063. I'm more determined to work more effectively in this regard. I reiterate my congratulations to President João Lourenço. I wish him full success. I wish our summit full success. Long live the African Union. Long live Africa, independent and prosperous. I thank you very much for your attention.
شكرا فخامة الرئيس.
Thank you very much, President, for your statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to invite His Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Mundoha Assoumani, Ambassador of the Union of Comoros to Ethiopia and Permanent Representative to the African Union, Dean of the African Ambassadors in Ethiopia, to introduce the new Bureau of the African Union Assembly for this session. Your Excellency.
Excellency Hamid Al-Ghazani, current President of the African Union and the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Your Excellency Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and government of the African Union states, Your Excellency Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine, Your Excellency the Vice President of Barbados, Prime Minister of Barbados, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellency Moussa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Deputy Secretary General of the Arab League of States, heads of delegations, excellencies, ambassadors, permanent representatives and observers of states, excellencies, commissioners, excellencies, heads of African Union organs, invited guests, all protocols observed, Assalamu alaikum. I have the honor of introducing the Bureau of the Conference for 2025 pursuant to Article 16 of the Rules of Procedure of the Conference. The Bureau is as follows. Chair, the Republic of Angola, Southern Region. First Vice Chair, the Republic of Burundi, Central Region. Second Vice Chair, the Republic of Ghana, Western Region. Third Vice Chair, Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Eastern Region. Apologies. Rapporteur, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Northern Region, which is submitted for your approval. Thank you, Excellencies.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and congratulations for the new elected Bureau. I have the honor now to invite Excellency Mohammed Wil Sheikh Al Ghazwani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, to deliver his handover speech. Your Excellency, please.
Je voudrais remercier mes chers collègues.
I wish to thank my peers, heads of state and government, members of the Assembly, for having elected me at the head of the African Union as President for the period 2024-2025. Together, we have worked to advance the integration agenda on the continent. I wish to thank you for all the support and to thank you for the unflinching support that you gave me, contributing to the success of Mauritania and the entire continent in pursuing this lofty task. I will now call upon my brother, President João Lourenço, to hand over the baton, to him, and I wish him success in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now I have the honor to welcome His Excellency João Manuel Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, the new chairperson of the African Union, for the handover ceremony in the High Table. You are welcome, Your Excellency.
Okay, thank you. Obrigado.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Your Excellency. Allow me now to call His Excellency João Manuel Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, Chairperson of the African Union, to deliver his acceptance speech. Your Excellency. Your Excellency.
His Majesty Mswati III from the Kingdom of Eswatini, Your Majesty Letsi III from the Kingdom of Lesotho, Your Excellency Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and the outgoing President of the African Union, Excellencies, Heads of States and Government, Your Excellency Abiy Ahmed Ali, Prime Minister of the Democratic and Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of United Nations, Excellencies, representatives of heads of states and governments, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, members, Excellencies, and President Mahmoud Abbas, President of the Palestinian Authority, and our guest of honor, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps accredited in Addis Ababa, ladies and gentlemen. I would like on the outset to deeply thank His Excellency Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed from the Democratic and Federal Republic of Ethiopia and his people for once again, as it always the habit each year in February, that they host the most important meeting of the African Union. I would like to thank them for the warm welcome and hospitality that was accorded to us since our arrival in this beautiful country. I would also thank Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and the outgoing President of the African Union for the proactive way, dynamic and proactive way that he led our organization during his tenure. We were able to carry out through his mandate actions that contributed to the achievement of the main objective defined by our organization for the last year that just ended. And we also build educative systems that are strong to allow quality education for African citizens, taking into account the better performance of our continent at the global stage, taking into account the objectives of the Agenda 2063 of the African Union and Agenda 2030 of the United Nations. Excellencies, you are leaving us a great legacy. It's upon us now to continue to work and capitalize on your work that you leaving for us. And I count on your support and experience, as well as the support of all the other African countries, so that Angola can also undertake a presidency that will be at the level of our expectations, and that we can also add our efforts for the achievement of the development goals of our countries, together with the achievement of Agenda 2063 in all our efforts in building the Africa that we want. My thanks are also addressed to all the African countries, but more especially Southern region, for the trust entrusted to us in order to lead in 2025 the African Union at a time when our continent is faced with major challenges related to peace and security, which are a blockage to many initiatives and actions that we want to undertake for the development of our nations. As you all know, it is the first time that Angola is assuming this major responsibility of leading the destiny of our continent in the coming 12 months. But we are going to look attentively to the problems of Africa, and we are going to contribute with our experience to finding solutions to peace and security, and for the implementation by member states of our economic policies, social policies, to promote progress and development of our continent. This is very important for us. The fact that we are assuming the chairship of the African Union in 2025, at the time we are also celebrating 50 years of our independence, national independence. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, throughout this conference, many issues will be discussed that are very important for our continent. The working framework of the African Union and the operationalization, the issue related to justice for African and people of African descendants to true reparations, which is the theme selected for this year, and a theme that Angola also chose for its chairship, which is related to the building infrastructure as a factor for development for Africa. These aspects, if combined, can allow us to build a communication channel and a channel of dialogue with our partners. It will make us understand the importance and the advantage of cooperating for a developed Africa that is industrialized, that is going to win over hunger, misery, and unemployment, and reducing the probability of armed conflict and illegal immigration. We will have the opportunity to address all these aspects in our 4th conference for development that is going to take place in Sevilla in Spain from 30th June to 4 July this year. And we believe this is a historical opportunity to redefine the rules of financing based on economic justice and inclusion, taking into account the commitments from previous conferences that were not fulfilled, especially the Monterrey Consensus, Doha Declaration, and Addis Ababa Declaration. The 4th Sevilla Conference is going to address the challenges that we have faced in the funding for development and promoting the adoption of innovative solutions and more effective solutions such as fiscal justice, debt relief, climate funding, reforms in financial and global institutions, and social inclusion. These are going to deserve our attention so that we can adopt a common position that can ensure the continent to reinforce its influence in the global governance and the reduction of the cost of the debt, and for a sustainable development of our continent. The achievement of these objectives is going to create synergies that are going to promote more trade, more cultural exchange, and technology, and other aspects that are going to bring benefits for all the parts involved. We believe that in the objective that we aim for our countries, we include issues that for priorities, especially in fundamental infrastructures, railways, roads, airports, and ports, power supply stations that are essential for the industrialization of our continent and to improve the living conditions of our people. During our presidency of the African Union that we are going to assume from today, we hope to work together with all the members of our institutions. We're hoping to launch a plan for together with our partners so that the African Union Commission can be able to establish the basis for infrastructure projects that are going to be undertaken in our continent. We would like to underline the contribution of Angola for the development of Africa, taking into account our superavit when it comes to energy supply, especially in this sector of energy. Given its strategic relevance that it have in the transportation of goods and in African trade between Africa and within Africa, taking into account the Lobito corridor and the Tanzanian railways that we believe are going to play a major role in connecting African countries and in promoting the trade that we want to achieve, especially under the AfCFTA. Taking into account what I've just said, I believe that we should come up with a well-defined strategy in order to yield the benefits. I believe that by integrating G20, it's essential in ensuring that Africa plays an active role in global decisions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the strategic lines of our presidency are aligned in general terms with the priority actions defined by our continent, especially under the acceleration of the implementation of the second 10-year implementation plan of the Agenda 2063, especially covering 2024-2034, centered in transportation infrastructure, connectivity, energy, natural resources, peace and security, agriculture, blue economy, continental integration, and African free trade area and strategic partnerships. In this framework, our major lines of our interventions of major importance is the issue of peace and security, because we believe this is one of the pillars for the materialization of the aspirations of our Agenda 2063 of the African Union, especially the program that aims at silencing the guns by 2030, by transforming Africa in a peaceful region, safe, with a promising future, with prosperity for all Africans, and in placing our continent in the development route. In the reports of our activities, the undertaken as a champion, AU champion for peace and reconciliation in Africa, I made a detailed presentation, the activities that I undertook in helping the achievement of peace in our continent, especially in the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo. I will also present my vision on what I believe that is essential to be taken into account in the future in order to put an end to the conflicts in Africa and in order to address the challenge of unconstitutional change of government, terrorism, invasion, and occupation of neighboring countries. We also have major challenges related to natural disaster resulting from climate changes and Marburg, cholera, and other diseases that are affecting us, and call on us to unite our efforts in order to find collective solutions for their elimination. In this perspective, I believe that it's essential that the third conference on the oceans that is going to take place in France is an opportunity for us to address the main concerns of this topic and that are affecting our continent. With more than 30 coastal countries, our continent will have to protect maritime ecosystems and promote blue economy and undertake more actions against illegal fish, maritime pollution, and against climate changes, which are major challenges that we have to face together permanently. I would like to hope that this conference will contribute to reinforce our coastal resilience and building conditions to mobilize international funding for sustainable projects under the blue economy. Excellencies, this year and during the Angolan presidency, we are going to work in coordination with the African Union Commission to mobilize financial resources through the contributions of our member states in order to be able to have necessary resources for the realizations of projects and programs of continental level and reducing our dependencies for external funding. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are living a global landscape, a very challenging global landscape, especially with the challenge in our continent and in Eastern Europe and Middle East. Despite all that, we are sure that by combining our efforts and joining force, we are going to overcome these challenges and build the Africa that we dream of, contributing in the solution of the problems that are affecting our humanity. It's in this context that I believe that we should continue to act together so that the United Nations will be more inclusive and more aligned to the challenges and opportunities. And the reform of the United Nations should continue to be a priority for our continent. And it is very important to reaffirm our commitment with the consensus of Ezuline and the Sirte Declaration of 2005 for 2 seats as permanent members with the right of veto and other privileges that are related to the seats. Excellencies, I would like to call on you your best contribution so that our presidents of our continental organization that we assume today can take part, can happen in a climate of understanding and the dynamics that is necessary in this long work that we together undertake for the transformation of Africa as a continent that rich and prosperous for its people. Allow me to address my vote of thanks to His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed and the outgoing commissioners that had their mandates at the Commission for their excellent work throughout their mandates at the helm of our common house of Africa. I wish to the new coming Commission successes in their mandates and endeavors, and I appeal that the Pan-African spirit and the ideals of our founding fathers continue to lead the future of our continental organization. I would like to hereby accept to undertake the functions of the chair of the African Union, and that our tears today for having lost the African child, Sam Nujoma, will be transformed in strength that will help us achieve the challenge that are ahead of us. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in introducing the theme of the year 2025, Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations, it is now with great honor that I welcome Her Excellency Dr. Monique Nzanza Baganwa, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, who will share her introductory remarks. Your Excellency. Then you will introduce Barbados.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the Chairperson of the African Union, Your Majesties, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency and dear brother, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, allow me to stand on already established protocol. Over the past centuries, the voices of Africans and people of African descent have echoed in various quarters with a singular demand: justice. Justice for the millions who were forcibly uprooted from their homes. Justice for those whose lands were plundered, wealth stolen, and dignity were stripped away. And justice for the generations that continue to face economic, social, and political disenfranchisement stemming from historical wrongs. As I draw my term in office as Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission to an end soon, a unique opportunity is offered to me and one of my teams, SIDO, to introduce to you the 2025 theme of the year, Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. As we embark on this journey in 2025, we are guided by the words of the eminent Pan-Africanist Kwame Nkrumah, who declared, and I quote, "We face neither east nor west. We face forward." The African Union's Agenda 2063 envisions a continent that is integrated, prosperous, and driven by its own citizens, a continent that is peaceful. The strength of this Africa has always been in its unity and resilience. At this moment, We stand at the precipice of history, and together we shall pave the way for a more just and dignified future for Africa, the CARICOM, and Africa's global diaspora at large. Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, as I conclude, since I'm not the one to deliver the high-level message, we have two leaders who will do it in just a short. But let me take this opportunity to thank all our stakeholders who have journeyed with us. Thank you, Ghana, and our champion, President Mahama, for inspiring the African Union with this theme. I wish to thank you, my dear brother Musa Faki, for your leadership and support. But through you also acknowledge our teams who have worked hard around this theme of the year. Especially, I wish to recognize two ladies. Madam Coleman from your cabinet chairperson and Angela from CEDAW. You did an amazing work. Special appreciation goes to Her Excellency Mia Amor-Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados and Chair of the CARICOM Authority. You have traveled all the way from home to another home to join us in today's launch. May I now invite you, Your Excellency, to come to the podium and address this august assembly. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Your Excellencies, and may I start, Chairperson of the African Union, President of Angola, Your Excellency, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, and our host, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Your Excellency, outgoing Chairperson of the African Union and President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government of the African Union, and First Ladies present, Your Excellency, the President of the Palestinian Authority, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, former heads of state and heads of government of the African Union, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and guests all. I stand here clothed in the spirit of the battles of Adwa, conscious that it was that battle within 24 hours that shook the confidence of the powers of Europe, but inspired the people of Africa and the children of the African diaspora that good would prevail over evil and light over darkness, but only in the context of our unity. I stand here conscious that it was that battle that forged the beginnings of Pan-Africanism that eventually led to the movement for independence and the destruction of the colonial powers to give us not full development and power, but the first steps of political independence. I stand here conscious and buffeted by the dreams and works of the great Pan-African pioneers, and conscious that as a children of the Caribbean, we have long dreamt for the moment of unity with our brothers and sisters of Africa. A division that was secured by those whose success and survival depended on separation of us rather than on the ability for us to act as one common people. Our relationship, you can say,
One of the expected priorities is to take the African Union to the people and make it work for the citizens of Africa. Indeed, Honorable Raila is a Pan-Africanist who has emerged at the right time to drive Africa's transformation.
You will do more than that. You will make Africa proud. You will make Africa powerful. You will make Africa peaceful. And you will make Africa prosperous. We will do our part. We pray that God will make you do your part.
We are gathered here as Pan-Africanists to endorse the candidature of Right Honorable Raila Odinga to bid for the African Union chairperson. As a chairman of the East Africa community, I strongly appeal to the region to rally behind Right Honorable Odinga. Adopt him as the region's candidate. Let us talk to our friends across the continent so that Right Honorable Odinga can be the next chairperson of the African Union.
It is with all this in mind that the government of the United Republic of Tanzania endorses the candidature of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission. Tanzania knows Odinga as Pan-Africanist leader who believes not only in the promise of African integration but also in its practicality. Excellencies, with Right Honorable Raila Odinga, we envision an African Union that is ever strong, that is championing Africa's socio-economic development, and that ensures Africa's voice takes center stage globally.
I am here to support the candidature of Raila Odinga on behalf of Uganda because he is a convinced Pan-Africanist.
The Honorable Raila Odinga is a celebrated statesman whose longevity in leadership has been sustained by an unrelenting devotion to democratic change as the foundation of sustainable freedom and prosperity. Kenya endorses his candidature unreservedly. I am confident that he will give his utmost and do all it takes to make Africa proud and Africa powerful.
A man of the people, a mobilizer par excellence, a nationalist, patriot to the core, selfless leader, a peacemaker, and a lifelong Pan-Africanist. Kenya's former cabinet minister and Prime Minister.
Mimi Raila Amolo Odinga.
The first African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development from 2018 to 2023. Raila Amolo Odinga, with his profound leadership experience and diplomatic skills, demonstrates a keen understanding of Africa's challenges, embodies geopolitical awareness and represents historical precedents through his commitment to consultative processes. His philosophy and experience make him the ideal candidate for the role of African Union Commission chairperson. His deep-rooted sense of African identity and commitment to Pan-Africanism are at the core of his political philosophy. His key focus and commitment are to harness Africa's rich and vast human and natural resources to command the global influence it rightfully warrants. He is an ardent champion of African unity, intra-African trade and integration. The Right Honourable Raila Odinga is a visionary, transformative and action-oriented leader who has consistently demonstrated admirable leadership qualities that will provide impetus in the actualization of Africa's priorities. This has been demonstrated through resource mobilization for the implementation of key infrastructure projects under the Programme for Infrastructure Development in Africa. As a global statesman, he has represented Kenya across the continent and the continent across the world. He has been a peace mediator and election observer, illustrating expertise and experience to serve internationally as an effective advocate for Africa. In his tenure as Prime Minister of Kenya, he oversaw the national budget and implementation of fiscal policies that enhanced transparency and efficiency in public spending. He introduced performance contracting in the government, significantly improving public service delivery. Honourable Raila Odinga's leadership roles have consistently involved managing and leading diverse teams across different cultural and political contexts. As AU High Representative for Infrastructure Development, he led a team of advisors from various African countries, fostering a collaborative environment that leveraged cultural and political diversities. He has a proven track record of championing the voices of the underprivileged, building consensus among stakeholders from diverse backgrounds, and ensuring that policies and projects reflect the collective aspirations of the African peoples. The Right Honourable Raila Odinga is committed to harnessing Africa's youth's potential and has championed the adoption of technology in various capacities throughout his career. His role at the African Union involved promoting the integration of digital solutions in infrastructure projects such as the Continental High-Speed Train and Smart City initiatives. To align Africa to Agenda 2063 and usher the continent into a new era of shared prosperity, there is no better leader other than the Right Honourable Raila Amolo Odinga.
Excellencies, I present to you a visionary Pan-African, a bold and wise leader, a professional and technocrat, as well as a towering statesman and a veteran mobilizer for positive change. Kenya endorses his candidature unreservedly, and we commit wholeheartedly to support his candidature, his vision, and his leadership.
The champion of Pan-Africanism. This is Africa's Century.
Africa, a continent of unmatched beauty, diversity, and potential. A land of resilience, unity, and hope. Yet, to harness our potential fully, we need a leader who embodies these ideals, one who can guide us through these challenges towards a brighter future. Raila Odinga stands as the strongest candidate for the African Union Commission chair. With a lifetime dedicated to public service, diplomacy, and governance, Odinga has proven time and time again that he is a leader for all Africans.
I am a Pan-Africanist, but I'm also an Afro-optimist, as opposed to Afro-pessimist. Afro-pessimists are those who have given up on Africa, who say Africa is a lost cause, that Africa is a condemned continent. But Afro-optimists are those who believe in Africans' ability to develop their own continent, that Africa will not be developed by foreign powers. It will be developed by the African people themselves.
His deep and nuanced understanding of Africa's complexities, his unwavering commitment to democracy, and his ability to bring together diverse voices make him uniquely qualified to lead the African Union.
My vision for Africa is a developed, integrated, and prosperous continent.
Odinga's vision is perfectly aligned with the African Union's Agenda 2063. He understands that for Africa to realize its true potential, we must overcome the persistent obstacles that have held us back. Under his leadership, the African Union will adopt a proactive, strategic approach to these challenges, ensuring our collective progress is not just a dream, but a reality. Raila Odinga's candidacy is not just a victory for Kenya or for East Africa. It is a victory for all Africa. His leadership will solidify Africa's position on the global stage, ensuring that our continent continues to be a driving force for positive change and development. In Odinga, Africa will find a leader who is ready to rise to the occasion to guide us into a future where our potential is fully realized. Raila Odinga, for the African Union, for Africa, for our future. And the man is ready to serve.
My name is Raila Amolo Odinga, and I am ready to serve.
Aïcha, écoute-moi. Aïcha, non, ne t'en va pas. Elle a dit garde tes trésors. Moi je vaux mieux que tout ça. Les barreaux sont des barreaux, même en or. Je veux les mêmes droits que toi. regarde